Today, we're going to go over a very easy way to extract the last word out of a cell in Excel. First, I'll go over the way that I would normally do this, which is an iterative process. And then I'll go over a relatively new formula called TEXTAFTER that'll solve this problem much more quickly and also more efficiently. So if I had these phrases here and I needed to extract the last word, I would do something where I would search for the space iteratively, and then I would take the right characters that fall after the last space falls. So what I would do is I would say equals find, and then I would find a space, which I just put quote, spacebar, quote, and then within the text that I'm looking at, in the very first one, I'll leave this optional argument, start number blank, and I'll close that, and it'll give me an 11, which basically tells me that position number 11 in this cell is where the first space is in between identified and issues. So then I'll come in and I'll say, okay, great. We'll find the next space. So we'll find, again, a space within this same cell, and I'm going to lock in the reference to column A this time. Now I want to start at where this last one ended, plus 1. And that'll tell me 18, which is basically the space in between issues and in, and then I'll just keep tapering this out. And it eventually starts to give me errors because, this 32 is in between basketball and performance, and then there's no space after performance, so it gives me an error. So this formula I should be able to drag down. That looks good. So then I would have to use an aggregate function. So equals aggregate, I want a max, because if I just use a normal max formula, it'll give me an error. So this next argument here in the aggregate, I can say ignore error values, which is a 6. And then it wants the array. So I'll give it what I want it to evaluate, and it should give me a 32. It should give me a 21 here, an 11 there, and a 14 there. So that's great. Now I can say equals right. Reference the phrase that I'm looking at. And then for the number of characters, I'll say len, which gives me the length of that minus this last space position. So this should give me performance. And that formula should work across the board. So satisfactory, expect there to be a go, and then purple. So that's great. It's just a long, convoluted process. If I do equals text after, I can point to the text. I can give it the delimiter of a space. And then if we actually go into the formula editor here by clicking on this FX right next to where we type in the formula bar, click on this instant numbers. It'll give us a little definition. It'll say the desired occurrence. The default is 1. A negative number searches from the end. So we can just put in there -1. So it searches from the end and it finds the first space, and boom, it gives us performance. Drag that down, satisfactory, go purple. So much quicker, but now let's say that we said this is a trap to see the limitations of iteration. Well, we can see we've got too many spaces here. We would have needed to build this out even further. So this is giving me the limits of iteration, which is obviously not the last word. It would just be iteration, but text after is straight away giving us iteration.